starting off with the Bokuto safely would be a very good idea, I think. You should change into a Iaito or a proper katana because of these 3 bad points of the Bokuto, which is very dangerous when you do with a real katana. Yeah. Minasan konnichiwa, and welcome to Let's Ask Shogo. It's me, Shogo, and I have my wife, Harumi, with me today.
Hi!
Alright! So guys, I'm always really happy that I receive a lot of comments and DMs saying that, oh, I want to start training Iaito thanks to you, Shogo, and stuff like that, yeah. And also I receive a lot of questions about Iaito too. And one of them is, I cannot, for example, afford a Iaito, these zinc alloy katana, or I cannot have them in my country, for example. So instead, I want to buy and train with a Bokuto like this, with a sai on it, a wooden sword. But Shogo, how are these 2 swords different? What are the good and bad points about training with this wooden sword? So today I want to quickly make a video explaining about the benefits and the not so good parts about training with the wooden Iaito here I have on the bottom. And after explaining about the good and bad points of the wooden Iaito, I will also demonstrate some Iaito katas using both the Iaito and the wooden Iaito so you can compare how it look different and such. But please do understand that I am a mere Iaito trainee. I'm still in the 2nd dan of Iaito and definitely not an instructor. So I will be showing you the kata, but please do not see my kata as a good example of it. Please just understand it as your friend showing you what he trains in and stuff like that. So I hope you understand. In this channel, you can take a closer look at Japanese traditional culture, tips on traveling to Kyoto, and social problems in Japan. So learners and lovers of Japanese language and culture, be sure to subscribe to enjoy more content. それでは比較してまいりましょう。
行きましょう。
So then, I'd like to start talking about the good and bad points of the Bokuto, using the wooden sword to train in Iaito. Yep. So there's both 3 points for the good and bad points. There's 3 different things. So let me start from talking about the 3 good points. Number 1, very simple, but the Bokuto are much cheaper than the Iaito. Yes. Yeah, I'll give you some concrete examples through some websites and such. But obviously these wooden ones are much cheaper. And the Iaito, it depends on which Iaito you buy. There are cheap ones, there are expensive ones too. Yeah, well, even the cheapest ones would cost around $300 US, I would say. Yeah, so they aren't that cheap. So if you don't know, if you're not sure if you're able to actually continue training or not, you don't want to suddenly buy a Iaito ride. Yeah, because it does cost a fortune. So starting off with a Bokuto to see if you like it or not, you know, yeah, by purchasing with it with a lot cheaper price. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea too. And good point number 2, the Bokuto is a lot lighter than the Iaito. Yes, this is just a wooden sword, so it's much lighter. To be honest, when you're a beginner of Iaito, yeah, you're not able to control your body correctly. So you do get a lot of arm pain, shoulder pain, and things like that. Yeah, I think a lot of arm pain in the beginning. Yeah. Eventually, you will be able to use your back muscles and actually your legs to swing your sword. You need to get there, yep. But in the beginning, you tend to focus too much on your arms and put too much power into your shoulders and things, and you tend to hurt them. Because they're much lighter, yeah, there's a lower chance that you'll hurt yourself from it. For example, if you haven't had a lot of exercise for a long time, and you suddenly start doing Iaido with an Iaito made from zinc alloy, there is a chance you might hurt yourself. So that's another good point about Bokuto. There's a lot lower chance that you'll hurt yourself. And good point number 3, obviously the Bokuto are much safer. Yeah. Of course, if you really swing it hard and you hit someone, it would be very dangerous too. Yeah. But still though, it is much thicker, you know, wider, and it is wood, right? Yeah. And again, it's lighter. So it's definitely much more safe. And even if it's an Iaito, the end of the sword is very pointy. Yep. So if you go like this, even with an Iaito that's not sharp, it would pierce something or someone.
Wow.
Yeah. So using the Bokuto, for example, if you're a family, have small kids inside the house, or if you're living in a small room in the first place, definitely using the Bokuto would be much safer than using a Iaito. Especially once you just started training. Once you're experienced, just looking at the sword, you'll understand how long it can reach. You'll get used to it and you'll be able to feel how long it'll reach. But when you just started, you can't understand the length of the sword, right? So especially it might be dangerous for beginners. Starting off with the Bokuto safely would be a very good idea, I think. And because of these benefits, when I actually started Iaido about 7 years ago, I actually started off with a Bokuto myself. And I trained for the first few months. And then I moved on to an Iaito. So I do definitely recommend using a Bokuto if you are a beginner. But you need to keep in mind that as you continue training, using the Bokuto, the wooden sword, for many, many years, for example, from there, that I would not recommend. Maybe just for a first few months would be okay. But if you feel, okay, yes, I'm going to be continuing training Iaido, then I think you should change into a Iaito or a proper katana because of these 3 bad points of the Bokuto. Number 1, they are very, very thick and big. Yes, much, much bigger than a real Iaito and a katana. As you can see, if you can pull it out, as you can see from the edge of the sheath, the koikuchi, it's called, is much, much bigger than a real katana koikuchi, right? And it's so much thicker. So when you hold onto it, it just feels completely different from a katana. And this width, the size of a sword, you might think that it's just a small difference, right? But when you continue training, this small difference means a lot. When you control the precise movements, it feels completely different. So if you get too used to handling just the Bokuto, when you move on to an Iaito or katana, it would feel completely different. So that would be the bad point number 1. And next, bad point number 2, there are some Bokuto that have them too, but most Bokuto do not have the tsukamaki, the wrappings around the handle. And you might be thinking, well, why would that matter, right? It matters a lot, actually. Training in Iaido, there's something called tenouchi, which means the inside of your hand. Tenouchi exists in a lot of things, like in Kyoto too, like other martial arts that involves using weapons. But for Iaido, obviously your tenouchi is very, very important, how you properly hold on to the sword. Now, having tsukamaki and not having tsukamaki, your tenouchi, how you hold the katana, would change a lot. Because the tsukamaki, how all the diamond patterns and such, they're meant to fit into your hands properly to enhance your grip of the tsukamaki. So not having it and having it feels very, very different. And in the beginning, you might not understand the differences, but as you continue training, having it and not having it is a major difference. And getting used to not having it too much would definitely change your kata as you continue training. So that would be the bad point number 2, Bokuto not having the tsuka strings around the handle. And number 3, this is a major problem as well. Number 3 is when you sheath the katana, how it feels is very, very different. This is actually linked to the fact that, again, it's really, really thick and big, right, the Bokuto. So when you sheath the katana, like this, it feels completely different. You're here. The sheathing and the drawing of the katana needs to be very, very smooth, right? That's the most important part of Iaido, But because this feeling is so different, I'm able to do this quickly like this because I'm used to doing it in the Iaito too, But the left hand is really important when you sheath the katana. As you can see, you really control your left hand, less your right hand, to do the sheathing. But you actually have to hide the entrance of the sheath like this as much as possible to do the drawing and sheathing like this. But when you do this with the Bokuto, what happens is your fingers starts to get jammed into the sheath and it hurts a lot. Do you understand what it means? My fingers, the meat of my hand are getting squeezed into the sheath, yeah. And then what happens is you have to open up your hand to do it like this, right? And then this is not a correct way to do it, yeah. You need to have your hand here, completely, almost completely hiding the koikuchi of the katana. But you can't do that with a bokuto because your hand gets jammed, yes.
Wow.
And it gets pinched, squeezed between the sheath and your sword. So it's very painful, so you have to do this, and then you're not practicing the sheathing properly. So that is something, a very severe problem too. Yeah, you have to open up your hands like this, the sheath.
That's a big difference.
Yep, which is very dangerous when you do with a real katana. Yeah, putting your hand away from the blade, from the entrance of the sheath, means you could cut your hand with your katana. You might think that this is very dangerous, but actually keeping it here absolutely prevents your hand from getting cut by your blade. This is actually more dangerous. Yeah, exactly. But if you get used to this using the bokuto, when you actually start training with the katana, you might hurt yourself. And again, you won't be able to sheath smoothly either. So that is a very, very big problem. Problem number 3. Yep. So those were the 3 good points and the 3 bad points. So as a conclusion, the Iai Bokuto are really, really good for beginners. But if you're going to continue training in Iaido, you should change to an Iaito or a katana as soon as possible, would be my opinion. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. So if you have any other questions about training Iaito, it would be great if you can let me know in the comments. I'll try to make some other videos explaining about the other questions and requests too. And by the way, if you're interested in actually buying these Iaito or the Bokuto, the wooden swords and such, My recommendation will definitely be Tozando. So I have the link to their website inside the description box and also in the comment section too. So I hope you can check it out. And our goal is to achieve 1 million subscribers by January 2023. So your help would mean a lot. And we'll see you in our next Iaido related video. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank
See you again soon. Bye.
Bye.